Welcome back to Skyrider Limited. Today on Kite Bag Tour, it's time to level up. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Kite Bag Tour. Welcome back to Skyrider Limited. I am Jesse, as always, and today, as you can probably see out the window, it is very windy and a bit cold here. So we are going to do today's Kite Bag Tour in my house. We're in the family room here, and I have dug up a whole bunch of kites. Today, we're going to be talking about the second major sponsor that my father and I had when we were flying pairs together, and that's Level 1 kites. We'll also dive in a little bit into the transition between Level 1 and our next sponsor. So this one's going to be a big one. A lot of kites to talk about today, so we're going to dive right in. So Level 1 Kites is originally the product of brothers Jens and Olaf out of Germany, and produced a number of kites, some of which we've already seen here on the channel. Previously we saw Evo's Badass, my 111 LGM, and a couple of Level 1 Amazings, which are from the era of kites that we're going to be looking at today. So if you recall, on one of the other videos, I talked about our time with Buena Vista as a sponsor. Shortly after we left Buena Vista, we were still sponsored by Avia Sport Composites, and Avia was the U.S. importer for Level 1 kites. We hit it off immediately with the brothers, and very quickly they decided to come on and sponsor my dad and I. And so our first kites with them, for us specifically, these were actually going to be my individual kites, but we ended up using them for pairs as well, were this set of black and white high levels. This one's really cool specifically because it's become a fairly standard venting method, but at the time it was very novel, and this is a perforated vent. As is typical with a lot of Level 1 kites, we have a one-piece protruded leading edge, spine, and lower spreader. The upper spreader is protruded as well. And our kites featured all APA fittings. These were a lot of fun. They are really good rotatey kites, though we're not awful on their backs. I actually put this one of these kites in a fade for the first time in competition, so that was fun for me. We flew these for about a year. We had them. We had a set of non-custom ones that we used for the back half of 1999, and then transitioned these for 2000 into 2001. So we had a full set of these, which was light or SUL, UL, standard, and vent. The SULs, the lights, were framed in Avia skinnies, and I'll actually show you one of those. One of the production colorway ones of those, though unfortunately most of its fittings have pretty well crumbled away, as I discovered when I took it out for this, so it's going to need some restoration before it can see the sky again. These kites were awesome, and they built a bunch of them, and they were very popular in their day. And you know, it was a big jump forward. The perforation, a lot like the mesh on the Compass Rose mesh quads, balances out the pressure really well. So you get very, very even distribution. The very smooth flying kite. I just noticed something, and I've never noticed this before. There's actually a hole missing in this kite. If you look right there and then match it on the other side, you'll actually see that there is a perf missing on this kite right here. That is actually uneven. And now I kind of want to get the other one of these out and check it. That's fascinating. I have never noticed that before. Clearly didn't affect the way the kite flew, because we never noticed when we were competing with them. But that's fascinating. There is one little square there missing a hole. That's super cool. Kind of makes the kite a little more unique. So yeah, this was the high level, the pairs high levels. 3-point bridle there. Yeah, they were good kites. Very, very easy to fly. So that's the pairs kite. Behind me, I have another standard high level here. This is more in the production form in that it used some FSD and Jayco fittings as well. But this one was a limited production run of custom color kites they did with the Bay Area Sundowners. So we have two of these. These were cool. So the Bay Area Sundowners were a first competition, then show kite team. They're mostly known for flying hyperkites, hyperkite stacks. But they also did fly team with individual kites. And right around the same time we were with Level 1, they were with Level 1. And Level 1 did these really gorgeous special colorway kites for them. Just super cool color with some layered icrics in there that make some really wonderful sunset colors on here. So wanted to share that one because it is special with you guys. So sit tight. I'm going to go grab one other high level, and then we're going to move on to the next kite from Level 1 that we received that we got to play around with. So this is that high level light I was talking about a minute ago. So most of the lights were this white and harlequin rainbow colorway, whether it was this kite or the Easy Light, which also came in a really really nice UL form. This kite again, all a via wrap taper frame, so it's got a 40 Avia skinny spine, and then skinny leading edge lower spreaders, and I think it's 5 mil upper spreader. These were really good in next to no wind. That big open sail and big flat nose, and they picked up quite a lot of drive. They were remarkable improvements, because before this we were basically flying indoor kites to make it work in SUL wind, and that worked pretty well. We had a set of the kites we saw in the indoor video, the Weldon Aerolab Synchros, which, working with Herb, we had configured for higher wind use with shorter spreaders and slightly different standoff configuration. And those kites worked very well up until about 6 and down to basically 0. And were a good solution, but they were still fairly fragile as they were indoor kites. This was an outdoor SUL and the first one that we had. And it was a nice change of pace to have them as an option. So that's the high levels. At the same time we got the high levels, they sent us a few other kites to play with, stuff that they thought maybe we'd either want to play with individually or would just be fun. So we're going to get into those next. So long-term viewers of the channel will remember one of the early vintage kite videos, we saw a Level 1 Blackjack the Fly. So this is original recipe Blackjack. Pretty sure this is Ventex. It's an all protruded frame, again with that double center tee, upper and lower spreader center tee. Has a very similar wide nose to that high level, but single standoff, a little more camber in this kite, taller and with a sort of narrower wingspan. This one also shifts out to turbo bridle instead of the 3-point that the high level has. A lot of fun, pretty radical. Could do some very interesting things. Was sort of one of the early camber leading edge freestyle kites and was quite a lot of fun. They sent us a pair of these along with the flies and this next one here behind, which was, and I would love if someone out there knows a little bit more history about the different versions of the Blackjack. My understanding is that this, which is the Celtic, Blackjack Celtic, was the ultralight version. It gets some Avia lower wrapped lower spreaders instead of the all protruded frame, and is a little bit lighter Icarus construction as opposed to the like I said, what I think is Ventex on the other kite. Again with that turbo bridle, but just lighter, floatier version of the kite. Still that very very long tail, pretty deep single standoff tunnel, lots of camber. Another really fun kite. It was a good kite to just go. All the Blackjacks and the Fly were just a really fun group of kites. Just kind of go knock around and play with. They were entertaining in a way that the kites that we were using for competition and pairs and team weren't, because they were just more for being silly and just trying things. This was right at the end of the 90s into the 2000s was a very transitional time in sport kites. More and more tricks were coming. We hadn't quite hit the revolution of the pitch tricks, tail weights, yo-yo stops, any of that stuff yet. If you're going to yo-yo a kite at this point, if you could get a kite to yo-yo at this point, you were going to try and catch the upper spreader stops as a means to hold the lines. So, it's a very different time in kites and tricks. And these were trick kites of their era. And like I said, a lot of fun. So that's the blackjacks. Now we're going to get into the other thing that was happening at the same time, which, like I said, my dad and I were flying pairs and team. And level one tapped us along with our team, the rest of our teammates, and another American team, Captain Eddie's Flying Circus, to help develop the team kite. So we're actually going to get to see the prototype and then one of the production kites for that kite. So sit right there. I'm going to go switch out some kites. So, as I've said a few times, my father and I also flew with a team. So during the waning period of our time with Buena Vista, we started flying alongside another pair in the area. Their pair's name was Animal Crackers, and we were Air Atlantis. At a certain point, we started flying together, and the team was formed, and we merged the two pairs' names to come up with Animal Crackers and Air Atlantis, making Air Crackers. So Air Crackers was initially a 4-person team, then I dropped off to focus on my individual flying and, frankly, schoolwork. But not before we began the prototype work with level 1 on this kite. So this is the last prototype configuration we flew of this kite here. It's an all protruded frame, and I think it's actually in ripstop. Though I didn't remember that before I took it out. You'll see it has a full width trick line on it, supported by the outer spreaders, and when we get to the production kite here in a moment, you will see that trick line went away, and there were some other notable changes when we got to the finished form. So this is what would become the level 1 VMAX. It is a full-size kite. It is remarkably precise. And it would go on to be a very good team kite and also a decent ballet kite. A number of flyers, Phil Napier probably most notably, would actually get quite a bit of trick out of this kite. This is a kite that I am convinced has more to give, and evolving from this shape, there's actually quite possibly even better kite hiding in here. It's a conversation I've had with Paul DeBacher, who is level 1 USA, along with Nick O'Neill, a couple of times, and I'm hopeful that maybe the VMAX reappears someday. So this was the prototype. Again, all protruded. You'll see no sail markings and kind of limited reinforcements. We really didn't move the standoffs around much. There was some standoff length change. A lot of what we were doing was playing with the nose width and sort of spreader positions and bridling. It does have a 3-point bridle on it. Pretty significant keeper because, as you can imagine, letting that lower that in-haul loop on the tail would have been pretty disastrous. Yeah, it was a cool kite, and it is quite a lot of fun. Like a lot of those 2000s team kites, so razor precise. Flying corners with this kite just packs a smile right onto your face. And so this kite gave way to its production form. So I'll perch this over here. And right here, which you can see just revealed, is the vented VMAX. So this was a production vent. First 2 batches of production kites went to us and to Captain Eddie's. So this is our vented kite here, which the production kites would switch to wrap tapered via rods. We flew these German flag colors. Captain Eddie's flew American flag colors. And these kites, I believe, we got just in time for 1999 Muncie, Indiana aka convention and national championships. My dad's and my high levels would lag a little behind, but we already had a set. We just didn't have the black and white kites yet. Again, big full size kite, full length rods, all APA fittings here. Lightening the camber. You may notice compared to the earlier stuff we just looked at, like the blackjack, the leading edges are starting to straighten out again, which makes this kite real big. I am, for reference, 5'8", and that is a fairly standard door right there. So you get a pretty good sense of how big this kite is, just from hallmarks in the room. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I think I'm going to get one of these out and do some flying video with it soon. So be on the lookout for that. One of the things I really liked about this era of level 1 kites was, frankly, the big sponsor logos on them. The big level 1 and the big powered by Avia Sport. It had a very NASCAR feel, very, very motorsport feel to me, which I really liked. I didn't mind the flying billboard. In fact, I quite enjoyed it. I thought it made everything feel very, very pro. I don't think everybody felt that way, but I did. And, you know, as a tween to teenager, it made me feel cooler. Whether or not it was, very open for debate. But that's the VMAXs. Some other cool details. Again, the perforated vents, which has a cool story. So the perforated vent story, which I don't know if I told you already. So if I already told this, I'll put a bookmark so you can skip by it. But the high level and this kite, the perforated vents, level 1 perforated vents, which, again, perforated vents become a little more popular, but at the time this was very innovative, came about. The brothers were at the Kite Trade show, Kite Trade Association International show in Louisiana, in New Orleans. And they had quite a bit of wind, and they didn't have any vents with them. And they were out at the demo field, and so they took their cigarettes and started burning holes in the kite until they had a vent. And it worked pretty good. So they went back to Germany and they started doing it on a bunch of sails until they found a sort of pattern and configuration that they were happy with. And what came about was these perforated sails. And, you know, they put the venting in kind of the right spots. Really paid attention to where the sail pressure was concentrated and evened out the venting in those spots so that the kite maintained good drive and good presence, but didn't gain a lot of pull. Yeah, they were pretty game changing compared to what we had been flying, which were good vented kites, but were just sort of vent thrown at a kite. Not everybody always looked to where the sail pressure was concentrating. So it was really nice to see a kite that had that sort of approach taken. You can also see on this kite versus the high level, they, instead of the high level, which had a double layer of fabric, they added a mylar layer to reinforce the venting on this kite. So this one was sort of the next iteration and a little more robust. So that's the VMAXs. Sit tight right there, and we are going to get a look at the last of the level 1s that we flew. Though these were more of the fun kites, not stuff we competed on. So this next one kind of serves as a bridge to what will be the next Kite Bag Tour video, where we talk about our last pair's sponsor. And it's an interesting kite, and I actually have two of them here, because it is both a level 1 and it is also a Cavalier du Ciel, and that should probably give away what it is. Eagle-eyed viewers who spotted some Tri-Spy hiding behind me will probably instantly recognize what was mostly known as the Cavalier du Ciel Blitz, but was also sometimes the level 1 Blitz. This one here, I actually think, is the older of the two that I own. It was bagged as a Cavalier. So here you've got Tri-Spine Icarus, and it uses some of the hallmarks of a level 1 kite. One-piece protruded lower spreader on a swivel tee. But interestingly, this one is all APA fittings. Behind me, I have the one that has the level 1 and Cavalier branding on the bag. And this one has some, unfortunately, very, very brittle FSD and Jayco fittings. But most interestingly, it has a Via skinny SUL spreaders. So Tri-Spy is cool. It was a super, super light Mylar. It had fallen out of fashion for a while, but I think it's started to make a comeback. Some people have been asking about it and have found sources for it. One of the nice things about a mostly or all Mylar kite is the material Mylar, because it's a plastic laminate, is impermeable. So it holds wind, which made these fly super light, like 1.5 miles, 2 miles an hour. But these little guys were fun little freestyle kites. This blue one here and I made a pretty good go at it as Hot Trick Shootout was sort of coming in the U.S. And really fast and sort of bang around the sky. I another kite that I can't wait to get out. Obviously, the red one, which is in better shape, will probably be the kite I take out to play with. But kite I can't wait to get out and play with again now that I've sort of my understanding has evolved in terms of flying, lighter hands and things that we've learned. It'll be interesting to see what this thing is really capable of now. Again, straightening leading edge, less camber than the Blackjack family, made for improvements in precision as well. Yeah, fun little kite. Fun little kite. And I am looking forward to getting it back in the air. So that's the end of our sort of level 1 saga, but it is not the end of our Avia saga. So we were only with level 1 for a short amount of time, as does happen with sponsor relationships. Something went sour. It wasn't between us and level 1, though. It was between Avia and level 1. Avia Sport stopped importing level 1. And with that change, the level 1 kites shifted to Sky Shark frames. We stayed with Avia, which meant we were looking for a new sponsor. This brand of kite that I'm going to show you 3 of real quick at the end of this did not end up being our sponsor, but we did test these 3 kites along with one other, unfortunately for this video, but not so unfortunate for someone out there. We don't have the 4th kite anymore. We had a full set of them and passed them on to someone who was looking to collect them maybe a year or 2 ago. So sit right there. I am going to put the blitzes away, and I am going to get out our next set of kites to look at. So these last ones are kind of exciting for a whole bunch of different reasons. So there's 3 kites hiding behind me here. These are all badged as Elliots in the U.S., and they were, again, being imported by Avia Sport in the kind of late 90s and early to mid-2000s. Elliot, probably better known in the U.S. For manufacturing some license-built Willy-Koch single line kites, as well as the power kites, the Sigma, which was a 2-line foil, the Echoes, which were quad-line foils, and then the Mirage and some other kites like that were power and speed kites. But these were more of their trick offering. And what's really interesting about 2 of these kites is they're actually licensed from another manufacturer that really wasn't coming into the U.S., but is still around. So we're going to start over here on this side with this kite here. This is the Skalar. So the Skalar is one of the 2 license-built kites, and eagle-eyed viewers might recognize the logo in the middle there. This was developed by Space Kites, and the protruded version here was built under license by Elliot. Fun little trick kite, smaller, sort of in the very, early 2000s, late 90s, cambered family of kites. And also very typical of the era. Big, long turbo leg on that bridle. Definitely a tail foul hazard there. I confess that I personally don't have a lot of memories of this kite. We didn't fly them more than a couple of times before settling on to our next sponsor, Cavalier. This was something that we looked at in between Level 1 and Cavalier as we were still with Avia. This kite, like I said, was more of the trick offering. Was fun and rotatey, as are a lot of kites in this era with the camber. Um, I imagine, and I'm going to have to take these out and explore. I imagine this kite has a really nice flat 540 that I'm looking forward to discovering. So that's the Skalar. We're going to move over to its bigger brother here, which is the other one up against the window in the corner. This is the Carat. So Carat was also billed as a trick kite and Pear's team kite. Again, Elliot built, but was license produced from Space Kites. It also had a competition version that Space Kites produced that could be had in custom colors and featured a via G-force framing, and even had a vented version where these two blue panels in the middle were switched out for some really interesting fine screen mesh. I do remember liking this kite and finding it very precise. I imagine, again, with its shape, also very good at the sort of rotational tricks. And another kite I'm looking forward to taking out and playing with again. The last of the Elliots here is the one I remember the least about. So bear with me here, and if anybody has some details on it, I would love it if you pop up in the comments and share. This is the Topaz. I have the sense that this is sort of an intermediate and beginnery kite. Very, very wide tunnel, 3 standoffs per side. These guys are 3 mil, and then we actually have a 2 mil carbon outer standoff that has some curved load on it. Again, in Perforated. Again, I wish I had more recollection of how this kite flew. But you'll just have to stay tuned for an update when I get it out and get it flying again. So that's the Elliots that we still have. There was one other Elliot that we did test that we really liked, and that was a kite called the La Luna. There is a kite worth a Google. I will actually drop a picture in here, right up here, of the bridle on a La Luna, because it is one of the wildest bridles you will ever see. So do check that out when you get a chance. So that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and sharing. Hard to believe we are closing in on the 1-year mark of the channel. I've had so much fun doing this with you guys, and I can't wait to keep doing it, and keep your eyes out for something special coming up soon. We'll do another one of these, sort of continuing this story very soon as well, and be on the lookout for that. And as always, we will see you out there, Skyrider.